My name is Vanessa. I'm sitting in the living room of the house that was once a symbol of my invisibility, watching the sunset through the windows I used to clean. A lot has changed since that fateful day in the lawyer's office, but the memory of the lies and the pain still lingers. It all came to a head at my so-called family celebration. My family had turned my birthday into my brother Lucas's big business achievement party. The house was filled with chaos and luxury. Caterers were bustling, and the air was thick with the smell of expensive flowers. My mother, Amelia, spotted me in the foyer and thrust a list of chores into my hands, as if I was just the hired help. Meanwhile, Lucas was in his room, resting for the big event. As the party went on, my father, Henry, made a toast to Lucas, his voice swelling with pride. He talked about Lucas's bright future, never once mentioning that it was also my birthday. When I dared to ask about my place in the family's future, Dad simply dismissed me, saying I wasn't technically family. Just then, my grandmother, Edith, rose from her chair with a quiet determination. She walked over to my father and calmly said, "Henry, you seem to have forgotten whose house this is." Then she took my hand and led me away. She gave me a sealed envelope and told me it held my future, but I couldn't open it there. I sat in my car for what felt like an eternity, the weight of the envelope heavy in my hands. When I finally opened it, my world shattered. Inside were a birth certificate, a legal trust document, and a handwritten letter from Grandma. The letter said that I was not the spiritually adopted child they'd always claimed. I was their biological daughter, and my father had lied to cover up his inability to love a daughter. The trust document revealed that Grandma had set up an irrevocable trust for me on the day I was born. The house, which my parents had lived in for 28 years, was actually in Grandma's name, and I was the sole beneficiary. It was worth a fortune, along with a significant savings account. I remembered growing up in that colonial-style house in the suburbs of Boston. It was a beautiful home, but I always felt like an outsider. From a young age, I was made to believe I was different. When Lucas got a new sports car for his 18th birthday and a huge party, I got a used book and a half-hearted happy birthday. When it came to college, Lucas got a full paid education, while I had to work 2 jobs just to afford tuition and ended up with a mountain of student loans. My parents always made it clear that Lucas was the priority. Family decisions, vacations, and even simple things like what to have for dinner were made without me. I was constantly reminded that I needed to earn my place in the family, which meant doing all the chores while Lucas played video games. After I discovered the truth, my parents started to call and text, trying to get me to come back and help with Grandma's affairs. They even sent me a document to sign, which would have given up my rights to the estate. But I knew better. I called the lawyer, Mr. Thompson, and he assured me that the trust was real and enforceable. At the formal reading of Grandma's estate, my parents and Lucas arrived, thinking they were about to inherit the house and use it for Lucas's new business. When Mr. Thompson started reading, my father's smile faded as he realized the assets were in a trust. When they learned that I was the beneficiary, chaos ensued. My father tried to claim it was a forgery, but I showed them the birth certificate. Mr. Thompson verified that I was their biological daughter. My father's face turned red with anger, and he started shouting, but I stood my ground. I told them I wasn't going to ask for their approval anymore. I had spent years trying to earn their love, but I finally realized it was never going to happen. I gave them 90 days to find a new place to live. My mother pleaded with me, saying she loved me, but I couldn't ignore the years of her silence while Dad treated me poorly. Lucas also tried to ask for a loan from me for his business, but his apology was more of a transaction than a genuine attempt at reconciliation. Now a year has passed. I've made the house truly mine. I've painted the walls, bought new furniture, and removed the family portrait that always made me feel like an afterthought. I've paid off my student loans and even bought a small investment property with the trust money. I got promoted at work, and I'm surrounded by a team that values me. Grandma Edith is in an assisted living facility near my house, and we have tea every Sunday. She tells me stories about my mother when she was young, and I'm starting to understand that my mother was also a victim of my father's narrow-mindedness. My parents haven't called much, and I'm okay with that. Lucas texts occasionally, but it's mostly small talk. I've learned that I don't have to accept the role they assign me. I'm not the forgotten daughter anymore. I'm Vanessa, and I'm the master of my own life.